Hey everybody, welcome to the Pipe Podcast brought to you by Sales Arbiter. I'm Hamilton Winters and I have the distinct privilege today to be joined by the Sales Arbiter gurus, Crispin, Cruz, and Dan Jourdan as we talk about what is Sales Arbiter, what is the process, and why does it work?
We're back. We're back, baby.
I know.
How's it going?
Terrific now that we see you.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been in as small of a room with two of the biggest personalities that I know in my entire life.
I love it when he feeds my eye. I love that.
It's like I'm in a boiling pot it's overflowing and somebody needs to come turn the burner off.
Thank you.
It's insane.
Thank you.
It's insane.
I'm just, I'm slightly uncomfortable because usually I'm the best looking one in the room. But in this case, I'm all screwed up. I mean, even Isaac is better looking than me.
You see, I do it. See, I told you what I said.
But he's a lemon in a cornfield.
Right.
Which is what he talked about because we're both wearing black. And then, of
That's
course,
right.
Dan not only doesn't get the memo, but he goes the complete opposite way. But I'm glad you're both here.
Thank you.
Because I am excited to talk about the history of Sales Arbiter. We like to teach, not tell, right? I want you guys to teach me and therefore teach everyone else about who you guys are, what Sales Arbiter is, and how it even came to be. And I don't know who wants to take it first, but just give me the, maybe even the BC times, lead us into AD. What was the before Sales Arbiter, and then kind of lead us into the timeline, Dan?
Yeah, well, you better start with Cruzy because if I get started, it'll never end. That's where we go.
I love it. Yeah. I'm going to give you the high level. So I met Dan probably 7-8 years ago, and I've been following him closely because he is just a powerhouse, with the sales energizer and all the things that he's done, the businesses that he's built and sold. He is really a force to be reckoned with when it comes to business development, especially in this regional area. He's done national speaking. He's written books, all kinds of stuff, right? He loves it when I talk about him this way.
Well, I'll talk about Cruz. He's done nothing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, you always feel, you always, as a good entrepreneur, right? You're always looking to fill that weakest link. You're always trying to figure out, okay, reflectively, what do I need what types of resources do I need to be successful, right? And so I'd been watching him and I've seen him speak and do all kinds of things. And I always thought, man, I would love to have the opportunity to get into business with this guy at one point or another. And then I'll toss the baton over to Dan.
Whatever. But here's the thing. I'm good at one thing.
Okay.
And because I was a stockbroker once. Did I ever tell you when I was a stockbroker?
You have.
I was a stockbroker.
But you haven't told the audience.
Okay.
And you might not have told Hamilton.
I was a stockbroker, and I was a terrible stockbroker. I mean, I was awful. I mean, I can make you have a little money. If you started with a lot, I can make it a little. I wasn't very, but nobody could open up more accounts than me.
Of course.
Because that's what I was good at. I wanted to get in and out.
Yep.
I wanted to get there, build a relationship, move it over to somebody else. But at that time, I didn't have somebody else. So what I did was I got a partner. And I had the partner manage the accounts.
Yep.
And that was when I kind of learned that I'm like a hunter. That's what I like doing, and it's fun. I like starting from zero every morning. What I found out is a lot of businesses don't like that. A lot of people want to get to a point where they're all set. A lot of people want to get to the point where they have a business that just keeps on churning and all that stuff, and they could sit back and relax and let it go from there. And so that bores me. And so my life was always, I had my first business when I was 18, and I had a deli in New Jersey. I had a restaurant supply business. I had a pest control business. I had a lawn care business. I had all these, and I bring them to a point and then sell them because I got bored with the kind of managing part. That's kind of what he likes to do.
Right.
And, the account management, do all that stuff. So I spend my day finding new business, and he spends his day making those businesses better. And pretty much that's what Sales Arbiter does.
Yeah, it makes sense.
What we do.
You spend your time putting the ball on the tee and Cruzy knocks it out of the park.
That's it. Well, see, every company needs that.
Yep.
And what happens is the small businesses that we deal with and the companies that we work with, generally the owner does that whole thing.
Yep.
Right.
And so by design, you're limiting yourself. And so what Sales Arbiter does in a nutshell is goes into those types of companies and creates a self-functioning, highly profitable sales organization that does not require the owner to be part of it.
That's right.
And so it keeps on growing, whether they're there or not, and increases the value of the business at the same time. And you got to stop me from talking, or I'll keep going.
No, you will. I get that. I've known you long enough to understand that. One thing that I find very interesting about what I know about you two as people is both of you were highly impacted by your fathers, and both of you have experience in the restaurant industry. Bring that into what you guys are doing now, because hearing you're talking about your father and his advice from the restaurant industry, hearing about your father and talking about what a great place America is for business. I mean, those types of things just resonate in my head as just American dream type stories. You guys have come together and you're creating this function to fill a void that every business needs. Right. Where does that kind of tie in between your history with your fathers and with the restaurant business into what you're doing today? I just I want to understand that.
Sure. I'll start.
So
I was talking with one of our clients yesterday, and they said, well, this next hire that we're going to have in our organization is going to be critical. It's a critical hire. And we tried to hire salespeople, and it hasn't worked out, and there's a whole host of reasons why it hadn't. But they said this at this time, we really need to make sure we hire the right person. And they said, well, what are your thoughts? I said, well, here are my thoughts. You need somebody that's hungry. You need somebody that has a good work ethic and that has an open mind that wants to learn. I mean, there's so many companies out there that they try to find these super experienced sales reps that have all of this product knowledge and supposedly have all these contacts in the industry. And they're going to, as soon as they hire this person for a 6-figure income or more, and give them this huge huge package, right? I mean, you hear about it. And they're promising the world because, listen, they're good enough to sell the owner.
Of course.
Or they're good enough to sell themselves to the company.
Yeah. Might be the biggest sale they ever make.
Right. That's probably the biggest sale they've ever made, is absolutely right. And so then they convince the ownership to bring them on board. And then 6 months go by, a year goes by, not one sale, right? So it's a crazy world. I mean, when we talk about sales being kind of like where owners think that it's some, riddle wrapped up in an enigma, it's like some mystery, right? It really isn't. I mean, you need, and that's what's one of the lessons that my father taught me. Bring me somebody that has the work ethic, the desire to learn. Bring me someone that really believes or wants to make a better life for themselves. Yep. That's what I need.
It seems like, and let me put it in layman's terms.
Sure.
You can give experience to somebody that has the right attitude. You can't give the right attitude to somebody that has experience.
That's right.
There's just something intrinsic about having a positive attitude that I'd rather have somebody that has a positive attitude and no experience, because I can train them in the way that I want to train them. Mm-hmm. But I can't really do much with you if you have tons of experience, but you got the wrong attitude.
Yep.
Tell me if I'm
complain.
wrong.
That's right. Nobody likes grumpy. Even grumpy people don't like grumpy people. It's not like you're going to out-grump somebody into a sale. Nobody likes that guy.
That's
you don't need to do that. My dad used to say that too. Danny, in his little French Jewish accent. Danny, no one likes a complainer. And he said, you know the difference between a complaint and a reason, or an excuse and a reason? Mm-hmm. He goes, the way it's spelled. It's the same thing, and nobody likes it.
Right?
So my dad, you're talking about my dad's influence. There was two things. One of them is don't be a putz. That was his main thing. Danny, is this camera on? Is this one right here? Put that. Danny, don't be a putz. That was his main thing. But actually, he gave me the best advice ever. I've said it a million times, and if you heard it again, just pretend like you hadn't, because it's really good. But he, when I graduated high school, he said to me, he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to get a job or whatever. And he said, oh, that's fine. He goes, remember this. You have a job, you have one customer, and he's called a boss. And if he decides to fire you for whatever reason, you got nothing. But if you're a salesman, then you have 100 bosses, but they're called customers. And if one of them fires you, who cares? You got 99 more. You know, financial success in life doesn't come with getting a job. It comes with having the ability to be able to earn an income anytime, any place, anywhere, just with the tools that you're born with. So work those skills, baby, and you got nothing left to lose. If I had a mic, I'd drop it right now. That was good stuff.
You do have a mic, but please don't drop it. It is Isaac's eyes. I just saw all of the life.
Isaac, for those of you listening who don't realize this, is the guy who's making all the magic happen here.
That's right.
And Crispin Cruz told me, don't bring Isaac in because people love hearing the backstory.
And so now that our audience hears and sees how much you actually pay attention to me, then they understand, they understand how difficult this relationship really is.
Don't put your hand in the cookie jar.
I paid.
And then he's like this.
I
licks his fingers and then sticks his hand in there.
I paid full attention to you, as I do with all my customers.
Yes.
And then I chose to do the opposite.
That's exactly right.
You're something else. What you just said is something that I'm a full believer in. I've said it like this, that the person that has the most power is not necessarily the person with the most money or the person with the most influence or the best job or the nicest house or the nicest car. It's the person with the most options.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly it.
What do you do to a person that has options?
That's right.
You can't do anything to them. It seems like sales allows not only the salesman to have more options in an employment sense, but it also is the lifeblood of every business, giving that business the option or options to do what they need to do, right? If your sales are hurting, you don't have any options. Your option is, I got to make sales.
It's
and then you become
impossible to
desperate,
fail.
and then they can tell, your clients or prospects can tell that you're desperate. I mean, a hungry fisherman is not going to catch as many fish as the guy that's going out there to,
We talked about that when we just started. We're a consulting firm,
of course,
meaning we help companies, build these teams and all that stuff for themselves. But every morning we wake up, we know for a fact what we are. We are a sales organization.
Sales organization.
That's what we do. We're a sales and quite frankly, you watching this, you are too.
So
you just don't know it.
I got to tell you though, I love it when you talk to my camera, but you're actually talking to that one.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Isn't it awesome?
That's my camera.
Isn't that your camera?
All right. Well, you see, here's the deal. When you're with the deeds, you can take all cameras. It doesn't matter.
I would have loved for you to keep doing that.
Okay.
Though, because just to see it, what it looks like.
We're off the rails. We've been doing this for literally like 9 minutes. We're off the rails
already.
But this is the whole thing.
This is what we do.
I love it though.
Let me ask you then, Hamiltonian. What's your best sale? I'll ask you after, but what do you think is your biggest sale in life?
My biggest sale in life, and I will throw it to my father, who is a judge now. He was a prosecutor, and he prosecuted 90 jury trials. He won 85 of them, which is an incredible statistic. Wow. He said it wasn't because I was the best attorney, it was because I was the most credible. He said, when you are a lawyer, when you're in business, it doesn't matter what you do. You are not selling this man's innocence or guilt. You are not selling your product or service. You're selling you. You're selling you, because if they don't like you, it doesn't matter what you're selling. They're not going to buy it. And so, maybe that's not the answer you were looking for. The greatest sale that I have to make is every day making you a believer in me. Because if I fail to do that, it doesn't matter what I have to offer you. If you don't respect me, you're not going to listen to me. If you don't like me, you're probably not going to listen to me either. So my job is to make you at least like me enough to hear me out about what I have to give you.
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
So what was your biggest sale?
There's a big difference between biggest sale and best sale. You said both. Which one?
I just said biggest because he gave me best and it was too ambiguous for me. So now I'm going with your biggest.
All right. Biggest sale was specifically Fortune 100 company, GE Finance.
I've heard of them.
It was over $1 million. It was over $1 million sale for us, and that was just one product set.
Wow.
Okay, then what was your best sale? I'm taking this job away from you. What was your best sale?
My best sale was the last one.
Which was? Oh, the last one that you made? Oh, very
Because you know what? That's it. I mean, for me, it's that hunt, it's that kill, it's that, and it doesn't have to be big or small. It doesn't have to be, a Fortune 100 or, a Fortune 50 company. It can be just the mom and pop around the corner. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the actual event when I'm in it, and I know that there's an opportunity for us to solve that person's problem, frustration, issue, challenge, and that's what I really enjoy. That's kind of
the same thing that you said, because you're selling yourself every day. It doesn't matter the size of the whole thing.
Right. Well, I can only imagine that it depends on the mindset you go in with. You're either looking at a prospect and saying, this could be my best sell yet because they're providing so much value to me in form of compensation.
Yeah,
but that whole matrix looks different if you say, this could be my best prospect ever because it's a small account, but we could provide more value for them.
That's right.
Than we do even our biggest client. They could be our best client, although they're not our biggest.
Some of the best sales I've ever made have been with these small business owners that just haven't figured it out.
Yep.
And we give them the tools and the foundational, sales strategy to be able to grow and really scale. And it's exciting, it's exciting to see them make it happen. I don't know.
Well, the point I'll be trying to get to is that everybody's in sales. You were talking about selling yourself. Yeah. I mean, every human needs to do that. My biggest sale has cost me the most money of my life. It was, my wife. And it was the best sale ever. I'm serious. I mean, think of how much money. You get married. I mean, think of how it all goes. I mean, literally all of it.
Right.
But how much do you get for it? And I worked on that thing for 6 months, before she even would agree to go out with me. And when that deal got closed, obviously it was more than a high five when it got closed, but it was,
we're in prime time.
That's right. But the idea is, it started with you. You're selling yourself every day. And I remember when I had my first business, DJ's Country Deli in Elmwood Park, New Jersey. I was 18, and I was just figuring out what the heck to do. I literally didn't know anything. I knew I could wake up before anybody else. That's all I knew. And so if I start early, I could, and I kind of remembered what everybody liked in the morning, so I try to have it ready for them and all that stuff. But I had a guy who would come in who was really successful, or so I thought, drive the nice car, always well-dressed, except he polished his nails. It was a guy, but he did it glossy, and he polished his nails. I guess that was the style back then, and I thought it was weird. But the guy had a lot of jack. And so I said, what did you do? And he goes, I'm a salesman. And so I said, this was my question to him. How do you become a salesman? That was my thought. And he gave me an answer. No one ever gave me an answer, but he gave me an answer. He said, first thing you have to do is sell yourself, which means nothing. I have no idea what that means, And I'm like, I go, what does that mean? And he said, he went through this whole big thing. And after he left, I still had no idea what it meant. Now I know what it means. And you hit the nail on the head. It's getting people to like you, trust you, and believe you.
That's it. Yep.
And that's it. But it starts with like.
Yep.
They got to like you first. If I get you in the door, it very quickly goes to trust, but they got to like you first. So you want to get into sales? You want to succeed in sales? Here's the thing. Forget everything else. Be likable, which is tough for him.
Depends on who you ask. I quite like Crispin.
You see how it all comes back. See how it's like this cloud that just keeps going around. You just never know when it's going to hit.
It's like the Sales Arbiter cloud.
The Sales Arbiter cloud, that's right.
Early on you said you like it when he feeds your eye. Nobody knows what an eye is. I mean, they think you're putting something in his eyeball. What does that mean when you said feed his eye?
Yeah, I mean, he's making me feel good about it. He's complimenting me. He's making me feel comfortable. He's, doing all of those things. Because he's feeding my ego. That's right. That's right. So
it could even mean feeding your eye as in the disc.
That's right. That's what it is.
And maybe dive in there because...
Sure.
How did it, maybe it's part of the system that you use, maybe it's something that you brought over from just what worked with you guys before. Why disc? Why do you use those four corners, and kind of give us kind of a history of your process? How did it all come together to make this just gold mine of information coming from somebody who's an alumni / graduate of the program.
Sure.
How does that all come about? How do you make the curriculum?
And succeeding, I might add.
Yeah.
In the program.
That's right.
You got to take this one. I don't know anything.
Oh, stop
When it comes to this.
So there more than two philosophies, but there's two philosophies when you're talking about the sales arbiter, sales strategy and process, right? One is you have to have a functional system, a sales system that you kind of abide by in every sales event, right? So it's really important, and I think that's where you can really tell the junior sales reps from those that are much more experienced, and those that really do make a crazy living in this industry, in this market or this vertical, is where it's those individuals that actually have a sales process. And now whether they realize that they've built it on their own, or whether they actually say, okay, I've tried this and it failed, and now I've built this into my own personal process, that's the way that they followed their own sales event or sales path every time they get into a sales event. So I started to play around with that and look at other sales systems, and we built basically the Sales Arbiter sales program. But one of the foundational principles of that is what you talked about, the DISC, D-I-S-C, okay? And that's really helping to identify the type of individual that you're selling to. And that's really important, because the more engagement that you can make, the more interaction that you can make, the more that you can make them feel comfortable and trust you and like you, right? The more that you're like them, it's going to improve that engagement. It's going to improve your opportunity to sell. And so that's the reason why we really hold that very strongly in our sales process, because most of the time, if you're in some social event, you're more attracted to those that are like you, of course. And it's a natural human instinct. So we leverage that in the sales process, in the bonding and rapport, when we're trying to find that connection with people. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. How does it work differently? I guess just the process. Maybe you two had different processes before you came together. Maybe you still have different processes even after you came together. How does something like a process work for each of you? Because I know you have very different sales styles, but you're both equally successful in those sales styles. So if I'm sitting here in the audience and I'm like, they talk about this process, but I mean, how could it be like a one-size-fits-all ball cap? How do you know what size my head is? Right. Speak some insight into that, because, having gone through it, I'm a little bit, I guess I have more information than the normal person would. So how does that work?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I'm very emotional. Yep. That's my thing. And I'll work hard at trying to, find out, instead of, figuring out the type of person you are, I'm just thinking how you're reacting to different things that I'm saying,
Triggers.
And so if you're reacting a certain way or a certain other way, then I'll kind of know what to do. But I haven't been able, and this is what I've learned since being involved with Sales Arbiter and with Chris, is how to actually document all those things that I think I've been doing naturally. But there are people that hate me, But I find in sales, by the way, better to have someone hate you than for them to think that you're not confident.
No.
I mean, you can do better, even if they, those two can go either way. But if they don't like me, but they still kind of think that I know what I'm doing, I got a much better chance. So those are, I don't know if that answered your question at all.
No,
that was kind of funny to say.
Here's
I have no idea.
It's great.
Here's what Dan doesn't realize, because I've seen him, I've seen the master in action, right?
The master.
And he does have a very, solid sales process. It's just, he has honed it and crafted it in a way now that it's just become part of who he is. And so we all want to get to that level. Yep. When I say he's a sales guru, he is a business development guru. I mean, I don't say I say that, I've said that maybe about 2 people in my life. The other one's Stephen Covey. Okay. So I put Dan Jourdan at that level. Now, he hates it and it makes him uncomfortable for whatever reason, but I don't care, because when you can take your craft and hone it the way that he does, and you can take a process and it becomes part of who you are naturally, that's why, his level of engagement is so high with those individuals that he's talking to for the first time that he has literally mastered the bonding and rapport. He lays down an upfront contract, whether he realizes it or not. He gets the pain. He understands the budget compartment. He does the fulfillments. Make sure that we can figure out how we're actually going to serve that client, in a way that makes sense. He'll lock them down and make sure that they're not going to buy back tomorrow he's not going to buy back tomorrow what he sold today. Yeah. He does the post sell extremely well, and then at the end of that, he's really closing the deal. I mean, he goes through all of the steps, but he does it so naturally, and that's just who he's become. We all want to get there and make it our own and own it ourselves. Yep. And that's the reason why most successful salespeople that I meet, I can see exactly why they have become such successful salespeople in their market or industry, because I can clearly see the process that they've built and that they stick to, and for them, it's been just this, pathway of hard knocks, right? They've learned they got beat down so bad, in this part of the sales process. They said, well, I'm not going to do that anymore, right? But in this case, with our company, that's something that we teach, because we want them to have, that level of success that they've maybe never experienced in their life.
No, it's not that you don't fail, and not that you don't, he says good at bonding and rapport to my customers maybe. But like this morning, I don't know, what time is it? It's 10:38. So this morning, I've already made, 55 dials. Maybe I spoke to 12 people, but I didn't make any sales today. That means I've been rejected already this morning 12 times. I don't care. They've already forgotten about me. I'm done with it. I'm moving on to the. So it's not like it's not like I'm doing anything magic. I'm just I get rejected more than most.
Yeah. It is magic, though. See, here's the thing. He says it's not like we have to have a good active listening, right?
Yep.
He says it's not like I'm doing anything magical. Let me ask I'd love to ask the audience, or just be a little reflective while you're listening to this podcast today, and ask yourself, did you make 55 cold calls before 10 a.m. today? Just ask yourself that. I mean, so is he really doing something magical? I believe he is. Because here's the thing. There's people out there that really want to be successful, and those that are just excuse makers. Yeah. I mean, that's another piece that I got from my father. We can make every excuse in the world why we don't do it, right? But then you have to question, why aren't we?
It's like hearing Usain Bolt say, I eat more than the average person. Yeah, you also run more than the average person. Like, you're the fastest man in the world. It just comes with the territory. Yeah. I get rejected more than the average person. Of course you do. It's because you get more at-bats than anybody I've ever met.
Right.
Remember Ben Johnson? Ben Johnson was the fastest man in the world. He was from Canada. He won the Olympics. And they took his medal away because he was on steroids or something like that.
Okay.
I was always thinking, I said, Ben, you're the fastest man in the world. Run. I mean, when they come to take your medals, run. They're never gonna catch you.
It's a good point. Good point.
It's like those people, and you go to the post office. They have those pictures, the 10 most wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, why didn't they hold on to these guys when they were taking their picture? I mean, they were right there.
We had them.
Yeah.
Look it. We had them.
10 most wanted.
I love it.